Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's live video AMA featuring our guest project, Decentraland. My name is Maggie. I'm the head of marketing at crypto.com, and I'll be your host today. Joining us is Federico Molina, who is the head of marketing at Decentraland Foundation. Decentraland itself is a virtual reality platform powered by the Ethereum blockchain. In this virtual platform, users can purchase plots of land, and then you can then build content and gaming experience applications, monetize, and allow other users to experience upon that. Earlier this week, we have collected a lot of questions from the community, and today, Federico is going to respond about 20 of them. So if your question has been selected for today's stream, that means you may have won a share of the prize pool, which will be paid out in Decentralized token mana. So let's welcome our guest today, Federico. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello, Maggie. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the community for sending those amazing questions. I had a really hard time picking 20 because there were so many great ones. So yeah, I'm Fede Molina, and like you said, I'm the head of marketing for the Decentraland Foundation. So for those who don't know Decentraland, it's the world's fully decentralized, the first fully decentralized virtual world where users really own it, and it's created by a community of artists, developers, and users. And inside Decentraland, you can find anything from games, museums, art galleries, to business hubs. So the possibilities are really endless inside it.
Cool. Thanks for a quick introduction about Decentraland. why don't we just dive in? The first question is more about you, Federico, yourself. What happened and how did you end up landing this role as the head of marketing at Decentraland?
So I think I chose to join the Decentraland project because I see it as a very challenging thing to be built that has never been built and that has so many edges. Like there's the artistic part, there's the development part, there's the marketplace and the economy, there's the artists, and there's this very new novel concept of the Decentraland governance that I think it's on a personal level, it's very attractive to me because it's a very complex project, a very challenging one. So I don't get bored and I love it, to be honest.
We were just chatting a little bit before this AMA, right? So, I mean, NFT is such a new craze, and a lot of people are still trying to understand the real potential of this, and Decentraland is at the forefront of it. Um, while I am not a gamer, but would you describe Decentraland as a social platform for what you mentioned, like with the artist community, like other collectibles, and or as more a gaming platform that I think a lot of people will have this perception?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and I think it's a little bit of both. But if I had to choose one, I think I would go with social platform because the Central is so much more than a game. So it's for me, it's a meeting point for artists, developer, crypto enthusiasts, event attendees, and gamers. So yeah, if I had to choose one, I would go with social platform.
So that naturally leads to the next question, because will Decentraland be explorable via a virtual reality headset, which is typical that would be raised by a gamer?
Yeah. Yeah, so since day zero, it's a key component of the Decentraland's vision. So I see a place for it in the long run, but I don't currently see it as a priority because market adoption of VR headsets is not yet there. It's still very low. It's in its infancy, and so there are other priorities at the moment. And I think that filling the world with engaging content and increasing the community participation in the DAO are two more important topics to tackle at the moment than VR. But yeah, in the long run, I think VR is very, very important for the Decentraland.
I would assume that at the moment you would focus more on getting more content, getting more users, getting more developers to start building and really activate this platform as the core focus. I was digging into a little bit more about Decentraland, and I was fascinated by how the whole governance model is completely decentralized, and also every single user touch point is decentralized, down to how the connection is implemented as well. Then that leads to a question that has been asked a lot when we talk about decentralization, is because you're attracting a lot of developers, art gamers to put their content and applications on it without a centralized gateway. How do you verify projects and contents of the games that implementing on the platform? And that, on the flip side of decentralization is abused by malicious players. What are the protocols that are in place to avoid things like this from happening?
First of all, this is one of the biggest challenges of any decentralized project. And we are not getting much of this at the moment, but I think that as Decentraland gets more popular and more users, developers, and artists are onboarded, this will be a really big challenge. Due to its decentralized nature, there's a thin line between banning content and censorship. So I personally think this is something that the community through the DAO should navigate, because if there's a central actor and saying what to ban or what not to ban, then the nature of decentralization can be lost very easily. So I trust that the community as a whole will find the mechanisms to filter this type of content, either for the DAO or developing automated ways. But yeah, it's a very good question and something that has not been solved yet.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an ongoing challenge, and not just to Decentraland, but other decentralized projects as well.
I agree.
Okay, if we have to pick one or two core proposition of Decentraland, how are you guys different from other blockchains and cryptocurrencies, or even those that quite similar position like yours?
Yeah, so I think I have to put our community here first because that has been like the key differentiator since day one. It kind of makes sense because we are talking about a virtual world owned by its users, so it's as good as its community, right? So I'm still amazed that since day one, I'm still perplexed by the amount of push, encouragement, and endurance that the Decentraland community has. So yeah, I think that that's our key differentiator and something that most or other crypto projects don't have. So yeah, I'm really thankful to be a part of the community and work along so many talented people.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So far, how has the adoption been like? Because we were just talking about that. Indeed, an overlapping with a lot with the gaming world, and part of it for what you guys have to do is likely gonna have to create some sort of awareness about Decentraland to new crypto users, probably um, hardcore gamers who are not very into crypto. So how's that process has been like for those who don't know too much about NFT or crypto, or the other way around, like those who are into crypto want to get into NFT, but more new to the gaming world. How has that process been like?
I think it has many edges. One edge is improving the crypto usability, which is kind of hard at the moment. It's improving, but as long as we keep on improving it, then the getting people from traditional games to crypto game is going to be much easier and much more natural. And then I have to mention like some community members which are really vocal and are pushing the boundaries of NFTs outreach. And thanks to them, I think we are seeing new artists, musicians come into the NFT ecosystem, which I think is pretty cool. So I think it's going to be something that will be attacked from different angles. One is community members doing a lot of buzz in social media. Other one is getting a more polished product overall. So yeah, that's what I think basically.
Cool. You mentioned about the DAO organization
Yeah.
of Decentraland.
Yeah.
To our communities, a lot of them who might not know all of the details, can you give us a more elaborate overview and introduction about how Decentraland DAO operates?
Sure. So the DAO is an on-chain governance platform. That means that what gets voted there gets executed automatically inside the smart contracts. So it's binding decisions. And the DAO owns most of the most important, sorry for the redundancy, Decentraland contracts. For example, the state contracts, the land contract, the wearable contracts, and the marketplace. So it's the vehicle that the community uses to make decisions about Decentraland. And there's a very wide range of topics that can be voted. For example, adding as small as adding one place as a point of interest in the map to the decision of where to allocate the funds. Because the DAO is funded with a 222 million mana contract that vests over 10 years. So it's also self-funded. So the community will get to choose what to do with those funds. I think it's pretty cool, and it's a key differentiator to other virtual worlds.
So for both land and mana holders, they got the voting right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to say that. So both mana and land holders get a voting power depending on how much mana or land they hold. Yeah, I forgot to say that. That's pretty key. Thanks.
I believe that there are other questions later on that we can dive deeper between the roles of mana and land. But until then, let's move on to the next question. Why should users embrace Decentraland as opposed to a more traditional virtual world experience?
So, I think in traditional virtual worlds, everything is controlled by the developer. On the other hand, public blockchains enable players and developers to truly own their virtual items, which are then issued and managed by smart contracts. I think this is the most important aspect of all. And added with the possibility of taking part of the decisions, like I said before with the DAO. So yeah, I think it's you own your goods, you own your stuff, and you get to decide what happens to the virtual world. I think that's a pretty two big differentiators from any virtual world.
So how would you judge, like, so far, how much that Decentraland has accomplished so far, that as we can consider that how far down the decentralization road that you guys are at the moment compared to the end goal that you have in mind?
So I think everything is already set up for decentralization, for complete decentralization. What I think is still missing is the right incentives for the community to participate more in the DAO. And as you might know, the Ethereum gas fees at the moment are really high. So whenever you want to participate in one session, you need to spend gas. So and the center needs to make this process cheaper. So, for example, you don't get to pay to vote for president or for whatever decision. You're paying to vote here. So it's kind of not natural, but I think there are ways like using Snapshot. We have seen some projects using Snapshot. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be worked around, but I think that the main thing towards complete and true decentralization is community participation. But everything else is set. There's no actors holding any key other than the DAO, and anyone from the community can take part in the decisions already.
Good. Next question: what social and mobile features are on the Decentraland roadmap?
Yeah. So I think that device ubiquity is a very important milestone for the Decentraland's vision. Right now, the world is only accessible via web browsers, and this has a reason. App stores are not friendly with the NFT model at the moment, like the iOS App Store, for example. They don't want you to freely transfer items, and it's basically a closed ecosystem. But I think that as the industry progresses and the customers shift towards a more decentralized approach, they will start to open up. In regards to the social features, one that's coming up, which is I think pretty cool and pretty game changer, is voice chat inside the world. We didn't have this before, and it's going to enable a lot of new use cases, and it's going to be very useful, for example, for events. We could be having this same MAA in the world at the moment, maybe, if we had voice chat, and we could be represented by our avatars. So yeah, I think it's really nice.
I think it would be awesome if we can do the next AMA on Decentraland, right?
Yeah, we should. We definitely should.
Maggie's and Federico's avatar. So I think you touched on a very interesting point because right now, uh, me as maybe a gamer, I can actually
Mhm.
access Decentraland through web any web browsers, and that is fully decentralized, right? And then at the moment on the
Yeah.
mobile ecosystem, everything has to be routed through uh, everything has to route through
Yeah.
a centralized censorship gateway. It might
Yeah.
actually contradict to quite a lot of the fundamental principles that you guys are actually working on.
Exactly. Yeah. PC is much more permissible in that aspect. That's why I'm more open and web. I think it's a very and a standard that reaches almost everyone. So that's why Decentraland chose to pursue that gateway first.
Mm, yeah, I think that's a very fair point. Definitely looking forward to how you guys can break that through because mobile experiences
Yeah, yeah, it's very key also. Yeah, I think it's a
what
matter of time only.
communities basically ask for, even for us every day. So I can only imagine the
Yeah,
demand.
yeah, yeah. I want to use it in my phone also. So yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to a couple of questions on the technology built on Decentraland.
Yeah.
We all know that you guys built on Ethereum. Maybe you can
Hmm.
elaborate a little bit more about the technology that Decentraland used to our community.
Yeah, sure. So the world is currently using Unity and WebGL as the game engine, but it also uses a lot of decentralized technologies to support the web platform. First of all, the most important one is that Decentraland is caused by a set of nodes called catalysts. So these nodes function as a way between content servers and users. So it's a peer-to-peer. It's a basically a similar to a peer-to-peer service and helps Decentraland remain decentralized. What's really peer-to-peer is the inward chat. The inward chat. This is using WebRTC technologies. So we also use matrix.org for the chat, and we use Aragon for the DAO, and we also use the graph for information that has to be fetched from the blockchain, specifically for the marketplace.
The next question feels like I must ask as well because everyone has been talking nonstop about Ethereum and the scalability issue.
Yeah.
Um, Gaming is challenging. I mean, a virtual platform is challenging because not all transaction is of like big trading volume, right? So for
Mhm.
small amount transaction and then that you have to pay the gas fee, and you were talking about voting as
Mhm.
well. How are you planning to solve this problem as you
Mhm.
are aiming for a more mass level adoption for Decentraland in the near future?
Yeah, so the current problem basically with Ethereum mainnet is that some transactions take too much and they cost too much. So there's a lot of smart people trying to solve this problem in the forms of layer 2 solutions. The center is currently looking at, for example, Matic, that this will allow users to hook on a second layer and basically have a lot of transactions with almost no cost and in a very fast fashion. So yeah, basically, I think it can be solved using layer 2. It's not fully available yet, but I think we are really near. We are really close to that.
Good to hear. I
Yeah,
won't pressure you on the fixed timeline on that. I understand that this totally on the top of your bucket list.
sure,
Uh, let's move on to another topic that we seems to not be able to escape from this year is DeFi, right?
sure.
Um, it seems like we now have just lived through the bubble of DeFi in the last 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
So, and as the popularity of DeFi starting to fade, uh,
Hmm.
what we notice is like it seems that the market is eyeing on NFT and Decentraland
Yeah.
being at the forefront of it. Um, can you share a little bit more about your opinion on NFT,
Yeah.
and how do you see the the growth trend of the NFT market? Is there anything that we witnessed from the DeFi boom that you think is relevant to how the NFT market is going to develop?
So first of all, I think that the DeFi movement is going to evolve into something. I think it will not fade away completely. That's my personal opinion. And second, and I think that the NFT market is hotter than ever. If you check, for example, nonfungible.com, a site that aggregates all NFT sales volume, you will see that the total volume and the average sales price of the last weeks has been rocketing. So yeah, I think it's a very hot moment for NFTs, and I think it's a matter of time that someone finds the intersection between DeFi and NFT. I think it will only grow from here, to be honest.
Great.
Basically,
And me personally, and we were just talking a little bit as well before before the AMA is uh, right now we see most of the use cases on NFTs on gaming, but
yeah,
there are just so many other possibilities out there, and we only have just scratched the surface of that, and really rely on projects like you guys to help explore what else is possible. And I feel like connecting to real world collectibles is definitely an area with huge potential that not much has been explored yet.
yeah, I agree. I agree that that could be a very big use case. Also, brands and um, onboarding non-brands into the NFT
Mm,
worlds. There's someone called Matty that always says that when Pokemon starts making NFTs, he will eventually go broke because he would buy everything. Yes, something like that I think would be huge for the whole NFT industry.
mm. And at the moment, are you guys working on or anything that you can share in public? Any plan to bring more mainstream and really popular games in a more the traditional world into Decentraland?
Yeah, we have talked with a lot of friends, and there's some interest, but I think some issues have to be solved first, like adoption and improving the developer experience, and I think that the first move from traditional to NFT or blockchain games will be done by indie game developers. For
Mm,
example, um, for example, Fortnite has no incentive to move to NFTs at the moment. So they are very big, they are very high grossing, and the status quo fits them very well. Why would they move? But I think that um, indie developers and eventually will start helping the mainstream start migrating to blockchain games, and then the big guys will follow when they see that user
mm,
adoption starts growing and that consumer habits are shifting.
mm. It does sound like, as we are shifting the ownership more to end users and some of the smaller developers, it only makes sense for this group of segment to actually drive the adoption and force bigger players to participate in that. And in fact, that's how crypto space has evolved so far as well,
Yeah.
right? And that's why we are very into this. All right, let's move on to talk a little bit more about the two tokens on Decentraland ecosystem.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, the first question on that is is there any plan for you guys to combine mana with DeFi? For example, will the users be able to earn mana through blockchain gamings and any other gamified elements, or maybe you already have that in place?
Yeah. So I think this play to earn concept is a very suitable concept for Decentraland. And this is something many members of the community have been vocal and have been working on. So I expect to be brought up in the central forums and the DAO, also in the forums of experience. I also know about certain projects like the Central Games that are currently working on some DeFi, NFT, and play to earn models. So I'm really excited to start seeing some of this soon. But yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting thing that it's a matter of time since we start seeing since now.
Good. Before I move to the next question on the token mana, would you like to elaborate a little bit more on the relationship of mana and land? And
Yeah.
land, as you guys name it, right, is the virtual land within Decentraland. My understanding is every time you purchase a plot of land, you burn some of the mana. So how
Yeah.
has that been, and how's the selling of the land be like? How the sell and the demand of the land affects the token economics of both mana and land so far for you guys?
So yeah, first of all, the Decentraland is divided into 90,000 equal plots of land. What varies between the tokens is their location. Those lands are traded in the open market, either through our marketplace or through any other NFT exchange. And anytime someone purchases a land via the central marketplace, there's a fee, 2.5% currently. That fee is currently burned. So Mana has a deflationary policy at the moment. There has been some posts in the Decentraland forum which are interesting that say that maybe those 2.5% of the fee could be sent to the DAO and could enter like a cash flow model and then be reinvested back into the ecosystem. I think that's a pretty interesting thing that we'll see what the community thinks about it. But it's good that you bring it up because I think it's a change of what we have, what the center has been doing lately. So yeah, I think that answers your question.
Okay, then we move on to the next one. What are the requirements to become a validator of Decentraland? And what are the benefits of becoming one? What role do validators play within the Decentraland ecosystem?
So yeah, first of all, I think they are referring to what I mentioned before, the catalyst, which are the things that place between the user and the content server. So to be a catalyst, you need to have a server with minimum specs, and I think at the moment it's like 4 cores, 16 gigas of RAM, and a good connection. It's important that the server has a good uptime because if not, it would disrupt the player's experience. And the main benefits are one, helping the community, and second, they also have a financial incentive. Lastly, if anyone is interested in becoming a catalyst, they need to go to the DAO and propose themselves. It's all decentralized, basically.
So the DAO committee has approved any validators before they. Okay,
exactly.
Very good to know. We briefly touched on how we raise the awareness, and you have been praising a lot on the hard work that the community has done. But from a financial standpoint, because indeed some younger, not as mainstream, not as big artists or developers, they probably face issues on financial support and whatnot. with the ecosystem that you were talking about, likely in the future allocating the fees back to the DAO. Has there been any thoughts or discussions or this sort of financial incentives that you would like to allocate to help groom the next generation of
Yeah.
artists and gaming developers?
So the center has this creator program that enables talented developers and artists from all over the world to start creating content inside the Decentraland. There are currently many teams funded via this vehicle. It's currently organized by the Decentraland Foundation, but the idea is to move that to the DAO. There's information on how to become, how to apply for a grant in the Decentraland forum. So I invite everyone to visit it. The URL is forum.decentraland.org. So yeah, I think it's a very, very important aspect because you need to fill the world with interesting content. And if not, you will find yourself into this chicken and egg problem, like what comes first, the content or the players? So you need to pick one side to subsidize. So I think that subsidizing the content is very wise in that aspect.
And I'm glad that you guys are doing a lot to help advocate to expand the adoption as well. If I say number one, the top number one priorities for you guys to focus on right now is how you're planning to educate and raise more awareness to broader public.
So something that has been very useful into educating and raising awareness about the Decentraland are its daily events. There are more than 50 events being held every month in the Decentraland. You can check them in the events tab, which is events.decentraland.org. And this, I see this like the way that the users have a first approach to Decentraland. And after that, it's important that they find a purpose and something to do. Maybe it's go to the museums, maybe it's play a game, make friends, but it's a very good first touch for them. With regards to the education part about cryptocurrencies, virtual worlds, I think that we are seeing more videos, for example, in YouTube, about the Decentraland, explaining it, and new community members playing it and trying to explain, doing play and explain. And also, I think that the community should double down on tutorials, videos, live streams as the center continues growing.
Then moving on is already our last question. Again, we talked a lot about how Decentraland is a game like because of the overlapping of the target segment. Yeah. A lot is still on gaming. Do you see an opportunity for Decentraland to be used for educational purposes, or maybe let's widen this question a little bit more, or any other purposes that come to your mind for Decentraland?
So it's interesting that you asked because Decentraland actually has its own university. It's working towards revolutionizing e-learning, basically. The university comprises many schools. For example, you have the VR Academy, and then you have the Crypto College and the School of Art. So yeah, there's a whole district because the Decentraland is also divided into districts. There's the Vegas district, there's the Dragon City, there's the University District, there's Crypto Valley. And so what I mean with this is there's a whole district dedicated to education.
All right, maybe now I know the reason to check it out. So thanks for telling us, and I think it's definitely a good thing for people to start with to learn more what's out there and experience a different learning format. It might be more interesting, right, while we're in the lockdown. So we have just walked through all 20 questions. Thanks so much, Federico, for your time and your insights and help us understand a little bit more about Decentraland. Encourage everyone to check it out and learn more and participate. even try to purchase plot of land as well. And also a huge thanks to our community who have participated in this event, check out the live stream, or share their questions earlier this week. Before we close, Federico, is there anything else you would like to share with the crypto.com community with our viewers today?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks to everyone for having me and for asking those amazing questions. And I think that it's a very good time to invite you to join the Decentraland Halloween treasure hunt, which is currently undergoing as we speak. So yeah, there are big prizes to be won during these 5 days. And the week will end with a very big live event with a DJ throwing a set. So yeah, I expect you to go to play.decentraland.org and start playing in this Halloween quest and trying to solve a mystery. That's basically the topic. And see you in the metaverse.
Cool. So I guess whoever is interested in participate at this Halloween special can follow Decentraland's Twitter and find out a little bit more, or follow Federico on Twitter, and your handle is Federico Molina.
Yeah.
Last off, again, just as a reminder, if your question has been featured and answered by Federico earlier, that means you may have won a share of Decentraland token mana prize pool, and your prize will be deposited directly to your crypto.com app account within 2 weeks or so. Until then, make sure to follow the crypto.com and stay informed about upcoming events, and keep an eye out on our official Twitter, Telegram channels, or subscribe our YouTube channel where we host all of these AMA's events on. Once again, thanks a lot, Federico, and until next time.
Bye.